Welcome to the dark side of love. In today's video, we dive into a story that doesn't just sting, it haunts. A devoted father for innocent kids. And a single soul-crushing text that unraveled everything. What would you do if your spouse disappeared overnight without a warning? Without a goodbye, only to leave behind a cryptic message, and for confused children looking to you for answers. Buckle up. This is not just a story about betrayal. It's a story about survival, truth, and the kind of strength that shows up even when love walks away. Chapter 1. A normal Sunday. Until it wasn't. It was the kind of Sunday that doesn't stick in your memory. The kind that slips through the cracks of time, like sand through your fingers. Hot, dry. The air buzzed with the sound of sprinklers and far-off lawnmowers. Just wrapped up coaching a local youth soccer game at the community park. A few kids from the neighborhood. A few too many juice boxes. And the kind of sideline yelling that was more about dads reliving their glory days than any tactical advice. Remember wiping the sweat from my neck with the back of my shirt, tossing my duffel bag into the trunk, and checking the time to 41 p.m. I was exactly on schedule. That part matters, because for most of my life, especially after having kids, being on time was how I kept things together. Monica, my wife, she was the spontaneous one, the last-minute vacation planner, the we'll figure it out when we get there type. I was the routine. The map. The guy who didn't forget soccer cleats or sunscreen. That day I was on my way to pick up our kids, Noah, Emily, Justin, and little Jude from their weekend science camp at the local community center. Monica had signed them up 2 weeks ago. Said it was good for their brains. Let them build volcanoes instead of staring at screens all weekend. She'd told me over coffee that morning. I didn't argue. She always handled the calendar, the sign-ups, the RSVPs. I just followed instructions. That's how we worked. So I did what I always did, showed up. I pulled into the parking lot right on time. The sun was cutting sharp shadows across the pavement, and the building's automatic doors were just beginning to slide open as the last session ended. I reached for my phone to send Monica a text. Got them. Be home in 20. But before I could even unlock it, my screen lit up. Her name appeared at the top, Monica, with a single message beneath it. We're in Hawaii. Take care of the kids. But was it no emoji, no follow-up, no explanation, no typo? I stared at the message, blinked once, then again. My thumb hovered above the screen, waiting for another ping, another text, maybe a laughing emoji or a second message saying, wrong, chat. Meant to send that to Susan, but it didn't come. It was just silence, and the 4 words that would change everything were in Hawaii. Take care of the kids. The door to the center swung open. My kids came bursting out, sweaty, smiling. Backpacks bouncing on their shoulders. Their laughter cut through the air, completely unaware of the chaos unraveling in my chest. Where's Mum? Justin asked, climbing into the front seat before I could even gather my thoughts. I froze, my phone still in my hand, face down. My voice caught for a second before I forced myself to speak. She had to take care of something, I said, slipping the phone into my pocket. I got you today. They all blinked at me, Noah and Jude with slight frowns, Emily tilting her head like she was trying to hear something I wasn't saying, but no one pushed further. Maybe they sensed it. Maybe they didn't want to break the illusion yet. I drove home in silence, the kind that only breaks for snack requests or quick arguments over the car radio. I kept glancing at the rearview mirror, watching their faces so calm, wondering how I was going to explain a vanishing act I didn't understand myself. Monica had never been reckless. She was spontaneous, yes. But this wasn't spontaneous. This was something else entirely. Back home, the routine tried to reassert itself. Backpacks were dropped, shoes kicked off, lunchboxes emptied on the kitchen counter. Emily showed me a lopsided paper match volcano she made. Jude begged for screen time. I nodded at everything like a robot, but inside, I was spiraling. I stepped into the hallway, heart pounding, and tried calling Monica, once, twice, straight to voicemail. Her usual bubbly voicemail greeting played, cheerful and warm, like she was still here, like she hadn't just detonated our lives with a single sentence. I texted her, trying to stay calm. What does that mean? Who's we? Are you serious? No reply. That silence, it had weight. It wasn't just the absence of her voice. It was a signal, a warning. Something was already gone. I called her sister Claire. Hey, have you heard from Monica? Today. A pause. Not since Wednesday. Why? No reason, I lied, just trying to reach her. I could hear the faint sound of a TV in the background on her end. Her voice was relaxed, unaware. I didn't want to pull anyone else into the panic yet, not until I had facts. Not until I knew this wasn't some kind of twisted misunderstanding. That night, after the kids had brushed their teeth and I'd read Jude 2 stories, both of which I barely registered. I sat alone in the kitchen. The clock ticked louder than usual. Every creak in the house felt like a scream. I called again. Voicemail. I opened. Find my iPhone disabled. Disabled. Monica never touched the settings. She wasn't the tech-savvy one. I'd set that up myself when we first bought our phones. It had been working just fine last week. Now nothing. No signal, no location. Just blank. By midnight, I was still in the same spot. Kitchen lights on, my coffee gone cold. Staring at that single, devastating text like it might start making sense if I stared hard enough. We're in Hawaii. Take care of the kids. She was gone. No fight, no warning, no slow unraveling, just a postcard from paradise. And for kids asking when mum would be back. Chapter 2. The text that shattered everything. Morning came without rest. I must have dozed off at the kitchen table, chin in my hand, because I woke up with the imprint of wood grain pressed into my cheek and my phone lying face down beside a now stone-cold mug of coffee. I didn't dream. My brain didn't even try to comfort me with illusions of normalcy. It just stopped and then resumed the moment my eyes opened. No new messages, no calls, nothing from Monica. I stared at my phone, praying for something. Explanation, a typo correction, even anger, but there was just that same message at the top of the thread, highlighted in blue like a scar I couldn't erase. We're in Hawaii. Take care of the kids. It was like she'd ghosted me in real life. My own wife. The house felt too quiet that morning. The kind of quiet that creeps up your spine and whispers, "This is not how it's supposed to be." I could hear the kids stirring upstairs, closet doors opening, drawers slamming, Jude singing off-key to himself in the bathroom. They didn't know yet, not really. And I wasn't ready to take away the last bit of normal they had. I made breakfast oatmeal and toast, because it was easy. Justin poured chocolate milk all over his cereal. Emily wore mismatched socks. Jude spent 5 full minutes crying over a missing Lego piece. Everything looked like a regular Tuesday. On the outside, inside, I was on fire while they ate. I stood at the window, coffee in hand, pretending to admire the backyard. But really, I was watching the driveway, waiting for a car that wasn't coming. I kept thinking, maybe she'll pull up. Maybe she'll walk through the door and tell me it was a prank, a mistake, some bizarre joke I wasn't in on. But the minutes passed, and the world remained stubbornly unchanged. I dropped the kids off at school, each goodbye a little tighter than usual, a little longer. I kissed their foreheads like they were about to board a rocket ship instead of walking into second period. And when I got back in the car, I just sat there for a moment with my hands on the wheel, the engine running, completely lost. Then I called Monica's job. "Hi, this is Jeremy Clark. My wife Monica works in project logistics. I just wanted to confirm she's in today." A pause. Then, "I'm sorry sir, she actually resigned last week. It was sudden, effective immediately." I didn't speak for a few seconds. My mind went blank. Then I forced out a soft thank you and hung up. That was the moment it clicked, not in a dramatic TV-style revelation but in a slow, sinking way. Like watching your house flood 1 inch at a time and realizing the water was never going to stop. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a nervous breakdown or a miscommunication. She planned this. The resignation, the trip, the message. It was all coordinated. And I was the last to know. When the kids came home that afternoon, I tried to keep it together. I asked about school, listened to Jude's story about recess, and smiled when Emily showed me her spelling test. But every smile hurt. Every word felt like a performance later. While they napped or played quietly upstairs, I opened our shared email account. Monica wasn't big on tech. She used the same 3 passwords for everything. Autofill was her best friend. She never cleared her history, never changed her recovery email. I sat on the couch with my laptop on my knees, my hands shaking, and typed in her go-to password. It worked. The inbox was mostly full of online shopping receipts, PTA reminders, the usual noise, but the trash folder, that's where I found it. A flight confirmation. 2 tickets. Lax to Kahului, Maui, departure 2 days ago. Names on the booking, Monica Clark and Thomas Carter. Thomas, that name, I hadn't heard it in years. But when I saw it again, it landed in my gut like a brick. He was her old coworker, back when she worked marketing at her previous job, before she transferred to logistics. I remembered the name because we had a fight about him once 4 years ago. There was a company retreat, they worked late, shared a cab. I remember asking, half joking, half not, if I needed to be concerned. She laughed, rolled her eyes. "He's married, Jeremy," she said. "Relax, he's harmless." Harmless. I clicked through more deleted emails. Resort bookings. sunset dinner reservations, a snorkeling package, all of it under her name. Every single detail, the dates, the times, the amenities perfectly aligned with the weekend she vanished. This wasn't some fling, this was an escape plan. I pulled up Facebook. Monica's profile was still active, no new posts. The last one was a blurry photo of Jude at his school play, dated over a month ago. I typed in thomascarter.private profile. No mutual friends, no photos, but one line in his bio stopped me cold. Living light, loving hard. I slammed the laptop shut. She left me. She left them. For a man I once shook hands with, for a tropical fantasy she couldn't build here, and she didn't even have the decency to explain it. She sent a message from paradise and expected me to just carry on. I could have raged, I could have screamed, I could have driven to her father's house and demanded answers, though I wasn't sure he had any. But I didn't. I didn't even cry. I just sat there in the dark, staring at the staircase where my children had gone to bed, and thought, she wants me to break. She expects me to crumble. I won't give her that satisfaction. That night I didn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her barefoot on a beach, drink in hand, hair blowing in the wind, laughing, living, while I stayed behind in a house, full of echoing questions and dirty laundry. But what haunted me most wasn't the betrayal. It was the ease of it, like I had been a layover, not a destination. Chapter 3. The silent hours. The silence after betrayal is different. It's not peace. It's not stillness. It's absence. A void that stretches wide across every corner of your day. The empty space on the other side of the bed. The untouched toothbrush in the bathroom. The faint scent of her shampoo lingering on a pillow that no one else notices but you. It was during these hours, the silent hours, that reality began to really sink in. I woke up Wednesday morning and reached instinctively for my phone. No texts, no missed calls, no Monica, just a weather notification, and a reminder that Emily had piano at 5 p.m. The day didn't care that my life had collapsed. Neither did the world. But the kids were beginning to notice something wasn't right. They didn't ask where Monica was, not directly, but their behavior shifted. Jude was clingier. Emily kept watching me, as if she was reading my face the way one reads a book with a missing page. Justin got into an argument with Noah over cereal that ended in tears, not words. "Daddy, where's Mummy?" Emily finally asked that night, her voice barely above a whisper as she lay in bed. Holding her stuffed panda, I sat down beside her, rubbing her back gently, swallowing the lump in my throat. "She had to go somewhere," I said carefully. "Somewhere. Far. Is she okay?" "I think so." "When's she coming back?" I hesitated, brushing a strand of hair from her forehead. "I don't know, Em." She stared at the ceiling for a moment, then turned toward the wall. She didn't cry, she just went quiet. That night I did something I hadn't planned on. I opened our cloud backup account. Monica wasn't very tech-savvy, but I had set up a family cloud years ago, something to keep our photos, notes, and messages synced. She never cared to mess with it, never really knew how deep it synced. I logged in. Photos first, hundreds of them, smiling faces, birthday parties, beach trips, and then some unfamiliar ones. Monica in a mirror selfie I hadn't taken. Monica and a hunt Thomas's, I assumed, resting casually on her knee during a dinner out. Then I checked the Notes app. That's where I found it. A folder titled Maui Plans with a palm tree emoji next to it. Inside, a checklist. Flights booked, resort booked, sunset dinner cruise, confirm reservation, tell Jeremy. That last line, it hit like a knife. She had made a checklist for abandoning her family, a to-do list for walking out of our lives. Next came the messages. She had backed up her iMessages automatically, and those told the story even clearer than anything else. Flirty texts at first, then more "wish I was waking up next to you instead. Can't stop thinking about Maui, just you and me, no stress, no kids, no rules." And then the one that ended, the version of me that still hoped this was all just a mistake. "He'll be fine. Jeremy's too predictable to chase me. He'll focus on the kids, he always does." I didn't move, I didn't scream, I didn't punch a wall. I just sat there, still as stone, reading that sentence over and over again. Too predictable to chase me. No, not predictable, reliable. She used my devotion like a weapon, calculated it into her plan. She didn't just assume I'd stay behind with the kids. She banked on it. It made her feel safe enough to betray me without consequences. She gambled on my loyalty and bet everything that I wouldn't fight back. The next morning, I called someone I never thought I'd need, Carla Everett, a college friend who had become a family attorney. We hadn't spoken in over a year, but when she picked up and heard the tone of my voice, she didn't even hesitate. "Come in this afternoon," she said. "Bring everything." I printed it all, the emails, the screenshots, the cloud data, the flight confirmations, the chat logs, her checklist, every piece of evidence I had that my wife didn't just leave, she plotted. When I got to Carla's office, I laid everything out on the conference table like it was a crime scene, because in a way it was. She left the state without informing. "You took up with another man and left you with full parental responsibility," Carla said, flipping through the documents with sharp eyes. "Jeremy, this isn't abandonment. This is a legal gift." I blinked. She disappeared. "Carla, I don't want revenge. I just know," she cut in. "You want protection. For your kids, for your future, and that starts now," she explained. What we were going to do: file for emergency temporary sole custody, with supporting evidence that Monica had voluntarily abandoned her responsibilities. We'd also secure financial protection, ensuring Monica couldn't just show up and claim a piece of the life she'd so eagerly discarded if she comes back. Carla said, "She won't be walking into her old life. She'll be walking into a courtroom." It was the first time in days I felt a flicker of control returning. Not power, not anger, just clarity. Monica didn't just walk out on her marriage. She walked out on parenthood, on reality, on the quiet, sacred moments that make up a family. I would not let her rewrite that story when it suited her that night. I made dinner spaghetti and meatballs, Emily's favorite. I helped Noah with his math homework. I laughed at Jude's joke, even though I'd heard it 10 times before. I was present because she expected me to fall apart. But instead, I was building something stronger from the ashes of what she destroyed. Chapter 4. Discovering the truth. By the time Thursday arrived, the paperwork was already in motion. Carla moved fast. Faster than I expected. She said, "When it comes to abandonment cases, timing is leverage," and every day Monica stayed gone was another page written in my favor. Still, it felt surreal sitting across from a lawyer, discussing custody battles, court filings, asset protections, as if this was some legal drama and not the actual implosion of my life. But while Carla took care of the law, I focused on the truth because I needed to understand it. Not just what Monica did, but why, who she became, how the woman I married had turned into a stranger, capable of disappearing without saying goodbye to her children. So I dug deeper. I went back into the cloud, this time combing through every synced folder, every note, every archived message. It was like slowly peeling back layers of a life I thought I knew until I didn't recognize it anymore. There was a message dated 6 months earlier, a harmless text at first glance. "Do you ever feel like you were meant for more?" Thomas had replied, "Every damn day. But at least I know what I want now." The thread evolved slowly after that small talk. Inside jokes, little flirts, sprinkled like poison across mundane sentences. Monica started sharing things she never told me. "Jeremy's so steady, it's suffocating. I feel like I'm living in someone else's dream, not mine. He's great with the kids, but it's like I disappeared somewhere along the way." Every line stung, not just because they were about me, but because of how calmly she said them. No anger, no distress, just quiet resignation. And like I was an old couch she no longer wanted in her living room. Then came the photos, selfies from hotel balconies, her in sundresses I'd never seen before. One of her lying beside a man with his face half cropped out. I didn't need to see it all. I knew it was him, but what really made my stomach turn was a screenshot she sent to Thomas from our family group chat. Jude had drawn a picture of all of us, me, Monica, the kids, the house, our dog, a happy stick figure family under a yellow crayon sun, and she captioned it to Thomas, "This is what I'm supposed to miss." No heart emoji, no smiley face, just those 8 words. I sat there staring at the screen with shaking hands. My son's drawing my children's home, our life dismissed like an afterthought. That this is what I'm supposed to miss. That was the moment any last flicker of doubt in my mind died. Monica didn't just leave me. She abandoned her reality for a fantasy. And fantasies, eventually, costs more than they promise. Friday morning came, and so did the first crack in her fantasy. I was packing lunches when I got a notification, an unknown number, a single message. "Call me, we need to talk." I didn't recognize the number at first, but the area code was familiar. "Local," I replied with one word. "Who is this?" Seconds later, the answer came. Claire, her sister. I called immediately. Claire answered on the first ring. "Jeremy, what the hell is going on?" she blurted before I could even say hello. "What has Monica told you?" "She called me crying last night," Claire said. "Said you're blocking her from seeing the kids. That you filed something in court." I side, of course. Of course she'd run to the one person she still thought she could manipulate. She vanished, Claire, for weeks, with a man she was having an affair with, left the kids, left her job, sent one text, and then nothing. Claire went silent. You know what she said about me before she left, I continued, that I was too predictable to chase her, that I'd focus on the kids like I always do. Claire let out a breath. I'm not defending her, this is a lot. I said, it is. After the call, I went back to preparing for what I knew was coming. Monica wasn't done, not by a long shot, and I was right. Carla called that evening. She's trying to file for joint custody, she said. I felt the anger surge like a wave crashing against a seawall, but I didn't let it spill over. She disappears for 3 weeks, and now she wants half custody. She says it was emotional burnout, Carla said. Temporary absence, no intent to abandon, I laughed. I couldn't help it. Don't worry, Carla added. We've got receipts. Stay quiet. Let the evidence speak. And so I waited, kept showing up. I packed lunches, helped with homework, fixed Jude's toy helicopter when it broke, sat through a parent-teacher meeting, listened to Noah's science presentation, drove Justin to soccer practice, because this was the truth. Monica had walked away from. Love isn't found on a beach with someone new. It's found in the repetition, the quiet loyalty, the showing up day after day after day. Chapter 5. The Lawyer. The plan and the fight. It happened on a Thursday morning. The sky was overcast, the kind of gray that makes everything feel heavier. I had just dropped the kids off at school and was heading back inside the house to grab my laptop before work. When I heard the sound of tires rolling up the driveway, my heart didn't pound, my pulse didn't race. It just stopped, a stillness washing over me like cold water. I stepped outside and saw her. Monica. She got out of the car slowly, wearing a hoodie, leggings, sneakers. Her hair was pulled into a loose bun, no makeup, face pale. She looked tired, small, nothing like the woman I imagined on a beach in Maui, sipping cocktails and laughing in the sunlight. This woman standing in front of me didn't look like a dreamer. She looked like a mistake trying to unhappen Jeremy. She said, her voice cracked like a record left in the sun. I didn't say anything. She took a hesitant step forward. Where are the kids? At school, I said flatly. Where they've been for the last 2.5 weeks. She nodded like she'd been expecting that answer, but didn't know what to do with it. I needed space. It was supposed to be a few days. I raised an eyebrow. So that's why you resigned from your job, disabled location sharing, and booked a flight across the Pacific with Thomas Carter. She blinked. The way her face shifted told me everything. She hadn't expected me to know his name. You went through my stuff. No, I said. You backed up your betrayal to the cloud. I just opened the folder. She tried to look wounded, tried to twist it into an invasion of privacy, but this wasn't about her anymore. I stood firm in the doorway as she tried to inch closer. You don't live here anymore, I said, my tone sharp but quiet. What? Her voice rose, strained. Jeremy, come on. I was overwhelmed. You always said I needed to take time for myself. No, I said. I said you needed help. I said maybe you should talk to someone. But I never said, abandon your family and go play house with a married man in Hawaii. She lowered her eyes. Thomas changed his mind, she said quietly. Ah, there it was. So he dumped you. No, she said. It's not like that. He said it wasn't sustainable. That the real world was too complicated. I didn't even flinch. So now you're back because your fantasy collapsed. I'm back because I miss my kids. No, I said, and stepped aside just enough to reach into my laptop bag. I pulled out the envelope Carla had prepared. I handed it to her, opened it and scanned the first page. Then the second. Her eyes widened. What is this? Custody papers. Financial disclosures. Emergency parenting plan already filed. Her face went pale. You're serious? Dead serious? This is insane, she snapped. You're punishing me for being overwhelmed, for needing space. I shrugged. No, I'm protecting our kids from someone who disappears when life gets inconvenient. She stood there, gripping the envelope like it might bite her. You're not taking them from me, she hissed. I'm not, I said. You already did that to yourself. 2 days later, the school called me. Monica had shown up unannounced, asking to see the children. I was in the middle of replying to work emails when the principal's number popped up. Mr. Clark, the receptionist said carefully. Monica Clark is in the front office, requesting access to the children. Given the court filing, we thought it best to notify you. Thank you, I said. Please don't release them to anyone but me. When I got there, Monica was standing near the front entrance, arms crossed, sunglasses on, indoors. like that would hide the panic on her face. You really told them not to let me see my own kids? She spat as I walked up. No, I said, holding out a printed copy of the temporary custody order. The courts did. She followed me outside like a shadow made of anger and regret. This is unbelievable, she hissed. You're acting like I'm some kind of criminal. You're not a criminal, I said. You're a mother who vanished. You don't get to walk back in and pretend you didn't. She stepped in front of me. You're turning them against me. No, I said. I haven't said a single bad word about you to them. Not one. But kids aren't stupid. Monica, they know who tucks them in, who shows up, who stays. For the first time, she looked like she was going to break. She bit her bottom lip. Her eyes welled up, but she blinked it away like it didn't matter. That night, I got another call. Claire, what's going on now? She asked. Monica says you've blocked her from the kids entirely. She disappeared for weeks with another man, I replied. She left a text and never followed up. She made her choice. This isn't punishment, it's consequences. There was silence on the other end. You know, I added, Monica said something before she left, that I was too predictable to chase her, that I'd just stay here and take care of the kids. And you know what, she was right, Jeremy. No. Let her know this. I didn't chase her, I stayed. Because someone had to. The next morning Carla called with an update. She's officially filed for joint custody, she said. We're headed for court. Might get messy. I'm ready. We've got everything. Jeremy. Her abandonment. The messages. The timeline. Let the evidence speak. And that was exactly what I planned to do, because this wasn't just about who left. It was about who remained. Chapter 6. When she came back, the courtroom was cold. Not in temperature, but in tone. There's something about family court that feels uniquely brutal. It's not like criminal court. There are no handcuffs, no mugshots, no shouting. Just the slow, methodical dismantling of people's lives in neatly organized folders and quiet voices. I sat beside Carla at the petitioner's table, dressed in a navy suit I hadn't worn since my sister's wedding. Monica was across from me. She looked better than when she showed up at our doorstep, but not the woman I once knew. She wore a modest black dress, pearl earrings, and a face carefully molded into composure. Her lawyer sat beside her, a sharp-tongued woman named Dina, who specialized in family litigation. The judge was a gray-haired man with reading glasses and a calm demeanor. His name was Judge Hanley. He had no interest in theatrics. Only facts. We began with the timeline. Carla stood and presented the facts. Like a surgeon wielding a scalpel, Monica left home on July 8th. She sent a single text message saying she was in Hawaii with Thomas and to take care of the kids. She had no further contact for 17 days. During that time, she resigned from her job, disabled her phone's location, and made no attempts to call her children. I was forced to scramble for childcare, work flexibility, and legal support. Then came the exhibit: screenshots, travel records, messages. The one that hit hardest was a photo Monica had sent to Thomas of the kids drawing with the caption, "This is what I'm supposed to miss." When that was read aloud in court, the silence was suffocating. Carla leaned in and whispered, "That one sealed it." Monica shifted in her seat, lips tight, eyes flicking toward the ceiling like she could blink the moment away. Then it was her turn. Dina, her lawyer, went on the offensive. "Your Honor, my client was suffering from emotional exhaustion. She felt unseen, unheard, overwhelmed. Her decision to take space was not an abandonment of her children, it was a cry for help." Judge Hanley raised an eyebrow. 17 days of silence is not space, that's vanishing. Dina pressed on. "She acknowledges the mistake. But mistakes should not revoke maternal rights. Monica has been a loving mother for years. She now seeks to rebuild her bond with the children." Then Monica stood. "Your Honor," she said, her voice slightly trembling, "I know I failed. I know how it looks, but I swear I never meant to hurt my kids. I just felt lost. I felt like I didn't exist in my own life anymore." She glanced at me briefly. "Jeremy is a great father, but he's always been predictable, reliable to a fault. I felt like I was disappearing, like no one even noticed me fading." "I didn't flinch," she continued. "Thomas wasn't supposed to be anything serious. He just saw me. He made me feel alive. But when I got there, I realized I wasn't missing my marriage, I was missing myself. I thought about calling every day. I couldn't." She wiped a tear. "I want to see my kids again. I want to earn back their trust. I'm not asking for full custody, just a chance." Her voice cracked on that last word. The judge sat back, interlaced his fingers, and exhaled slowly. "Miss Clark," he said, "it is not this court's job to assess your morality, only your behavior. Your testimony reveals remorse, but also recklessness. You left 4 children without contact. That is not emotional exhaustion, that is abandonment. Monica's eyes glistened. He turned to me. Duddle quotes, Mr. Clark, your documentation is thorough, your response measured. You have demonstrated stability, continuity of care, and the best interests of your children. I kept my hands folded, breathing carefully through my nose. The room felt still. Temporary full custody, Judge Hanley ruled, with a supervised visitation plan to be reviewed in 90 days. Final custody determination will depend on continued conduct, parental cooperation, and child welfare assessments. The gavel struck like a soft gunshot. Monica's shoulders sagged. Mine didn't rise, because this wasn't victory, it was survival, and we weren't done yet. Outside the courtroom, Monica caught up to me in the hallway. I didn't think you'd fight me like this, she whispered. I turned to her, calm but firm. You thought I'd fold, that I'd crumble like a man left behind. But Monica, when you walked away, I didn't break. I became something stronger. She looked stunned. Not the same man you left, I said, and you're not the same woman who mothered our children. Her mouth opened like she might say something, but she didn't, because there was nothing left to say. Chapter 7, Courtroom, Fallout and Real-World Consequences. The ruling gave me full temporary custody, and Monica's visitation was limited to a few hours every Saturday with a court-appointed supervisor present in the room. But no gavel could erase the emotional damage. The aftermath wasn't loud. It was quiet, painfully quiet. And sometimes, that's worse, the kids didn't know all the details. I hadn't told them about the affair. I didn't say her trip to clear her head was with another man. What could they do with that information except hurt? Instead, I told them the truth I could give. Mum needed time. She didn't handle it well. She made some big mistakes. But she's back now, and she wants to fix things. They nodded, some with curiosity, others with confusion. But the youngest, Noah, just 7 years old, asked the question I'd been dreading. If she missed us, why didn't she call? I didn't have a perfect answer, so I just knelt down, looked him in the eye, and said, sometimes people don't know how to come back, even when they want to, but that doesn't mean you did anything wrong. He hugged me tight and said, you didn't go anywhere. And that hit harder than anything a judge could say. Monica's first supervised visit was strange. She brought cookies, store-bought, still in the plastic container, like she hadn't remembered how to bake anymore. The kids were polite, cautious. They didn't run into her arms or cry or scream. They just sat on the floor of the visitation center's playroom and looked at her like she was a substitute teacher they were trying to figure out. Hi, Mom, Olivia said quietly, coloring. In a unicorn, Monica smiled and sat next to her. Hey, sweetie, I missed you. She didn't say I love you. Not right away. Like even the word love needed to earn its place back. The other kids were slower. Noah clung to his toy dinosaur. Jake kept glancing at me through the two-way glass, unsure if he was allowed to smile. By the end of the 2 hours, Monica looked drained. Not angry, not frustrated, just emotionally bankrupt. Like she was realizing for the first time that you can't just come home and expect everyone to throw a parade. That night, Claire, Monica's sister, called me again. She says the kids are cold. She's devastated. She left. I said, they're scared. They don't know if she's going to vanish again. She's trying, Jeremy. Trying is not enough. Trying doesn't erase 17 days of silence. Trying doesn't make the kids forget that she disappeared right before Noah's birthday and missed it without a single call. There was silence. She still loves them, Claire whispered. I believe that, I replied. But love means showing up, not just feeling guilty. Meanwhile, I was trying to live 2 lives. Home. I was dad, making breakfast, folding laundry, going to parent-teacher meetings, hosting awkward Saturday night movie nights just to keep their minds off the elephant in the room. At work, I was that guy everyone whispered about in the break room. You don't survive something like this without becoming a cautionary tale. I could feel it in the way people spoke to me, careful, soft, like I was fragile glass. But I wasn't fragile. I was furious, focused, functional, and lonely. There were nights I would sit at the kitchen table after the kids were asleep, scrolling through photos on my phone, family vacations, birthday cakes, Monica holding the kids, like the mother she used to be. Sometimes I wondered, could that person come back? Could she come back, or was that version of her gone for good? The worst moment came 2 weeks into the visits. Olivia woke up in tears. She hugged me too long, she said. She kept saying sorry. I don't want her to be sad, but I don't know if I want her around either. She was 10 years old. 10. Trying to make space in her heart for a mother who broke it and trying not to feel guilty for being angry. I held her and whispered, "You're allowed to feel both things, love and anger, hope and hurt. You don't have to pick one." She nodded against my chest. And in that moment, I realized something I hadn't fully accepted yet. We weren't trying to fix a broken family. We were trying to rebuild something completely different, something new, scarred but honest, something real. Chapter 8. The road to forgiveness, or something like it. Forgiveness doesn't arrive like a lightning bolt. It doesn't crash through the door with a grand apology and fix everything in a single dramatic moment. It creeps in quietly through exhausted conversations, small gestures, and the kind of honesty that makes your voice shake when you speak it out loud. 3 weeks after the courtroom ruling, Monica began therapy. Yes, but she didn't resist it. In fact, she leaned in harder than I expected. Weekly sessions, emotional homework, even group counseling for women navigating identity crises and marital trauma. She emailed me one night, just one line: "You were right. I didn't know who I was anymore." I didn't reply, not because I was angry, but because I didn't know what she wanted from that message. Validation, closure, a chance. I couldn't give any of that. Not yet. The kids slowly warmed, but never fully. Monica would visit, and the conversations got easier. Noah even hugged her without being asked. Olivia gave her a handmade bracelet, nothing elaborate, just a pink beaded string with a plastic heart in the center. But after Monica left, Olivia asked, "Is it okay if I don't want to live with her again?" My answer came slower than I expected. "Yes," I finally said. "It's okay to love her and still not feel safe." Her eyes softened, like she'd been waiting for permission to feel that way, and that's when it hit me. Kids don't need perfection, that they need permission. To feel, to grieve, to speak. Monica's biggest change came at the 6-week mark. She stopped trying to defend what she did. She no longer blamed me for emotional neglect, no longer talked about Thomas, no longer cried in front of the kids. Instead, she started listening. During one visit, Jake looked her in the eyes and said, "I thought maybe you died." Monica didn't flinch. "I know," she said. "I'm so sorry. I never should have made you feel that way." No excuses. No counterpoints. Just accountability. It was the most real she had been since she walked out the door. Meanwhile, I was navigating my own shift. The loneliness, the long nights, the quiet moments after the kids fell asleep, it all settled into something familiar. Not pain anymore. Peace. It's strange. You think heartbreak will destroy you, but sometimes it just breaks the version of you that was already exhausted, already dimmed. I didn't want Monica back, not in the way she had been, but I didn't want her gone, either, not for the kids. So, we talked 1-on-1 in the same living room where we'd once whispered baby names and argued about grocery bills. We talked about boundaries, about co-parenting, about guilt. I asked her, "Why Thomas?" She looked down, picked at her sleeve, and said, "Because he didn't know me, and that meant he didn't have expectations." That's when I finally understood. She didn't cheat because of me. She cheated because she didn't know how to exist as herself inside our life anymore. It didn't justify it, but it explained it. And sometimes, understanding is the beginning of forgiveness. At our 90-day review hearing, Judge Hanley listened to reports from the child psychologist, the visitation supervisor, and both attorneys. The conclusion: the kids were thriving. Monica was consistent, and I was still their rock. Joint legal custody, the judge ruled. Primary physical custody to Mr. Clark. Gradual, unsupervised visitation to be phased in pending emotional readiness of the children. That was as fair as the law would get. Outside the courtroom, Monica asked if we could walk a minute, just us. We stopped beneath a tree, far from the others. "I know I can't undo what I did," she said, "but I want you to know something. You weren't the problem." I looked at her, and not the woman I married, not the woman who left. Someone else entirely. Someone real, I know. I said, "I never was." She smiled sadly. "I hope someday we can be friends." "Maybe," I said, "but right now, let's just be good parents." That night, I told the kids they'd start spending one afternoon a week at their mom's new apartment. Olivia asked, "Will she disappear again?" "No," I said. "She made a mistake, a big one, but now she's showing up, and we don't punish people for getting better." Noah chimed in, "But we don't forget, right?" I smiled. "No," I said, "we remember, we learn, and we keep going." Chapter 9. The final message. Life moved on. Not dramatically, not suddenly, but day by day, week by week, things just settled. Monica saw the kids regularly now. At first it was just Sundays, then some evenings during the week. Then she started picking them up from school once a week and dropping them Back at dinner. The kids adjusted. They were still guarded, still figuring her out, but they laughed with her again. And that was enough for now. As for me, I didn't date, not because I was bitter, but because I finally liked being alone with myself. I went for early morning runs. I read books I'd put off for years. I built Lego sets with the kids. I learned how to braid Olivia's hair without her saying, "You're messing it up." Our home wasn't broken anymore. It was rebuilt with honesty, with cracks, and with love that didn't pretend anymore. Then came the final message. It was a Wednesday night, late. The kids were asleep. I was doing dishes with my phone charging. Nearby, when I picked it up, I saw her name, Monica. I hesitated, thumb hovering over the screen. The message was long, longer than I expected. "Jeremy, I want to thank you, not for forgiving me, because I know I didn't earn that, and not for letting me come back into the kids' lives because that's their right, not mine. I want to thank you for showing me who you really are. I think I married someone I didn't fully understand. I spent years focused on what I wasn't, getting tension, spontaneity, some idea of passion I couldn't even define. But I see now that you were the anchor. You were showing up every single day, quietly, without applause. I thought I wanted someone exciting. I didn't realize the most exciting thing a man can do is be consistent in a world that falls apart too easily. Thomas wasn't real. He was a flashlight in a storm. You were the lighthouse. I've let go of ever being your wife again. I don't deserve that. But I hope one day we can sit across from each other at our kids' graduations and smile, not because we forgot what happened, but because we survived it. Thank you for protecting our children when I didn't, and thank you for not turning them against me. I see the man you are now, and I finally understand what I lost." I sat down at the kitchen table and read it twice. Then, again. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I didn't even respond. I just felt. Finished. Not in a bitter way, but in the way you feel when a book ends, one that tore you up inside, made you question everything, and then quietly closed its last chapter with a sigh instead of a scream. I knew she meant every word, and I knew I didn't need to say anything back, because some things don't require replies, just peace. It's been almost a year now. The kids are thriving. Olivia plays soccer. Jake made honor roll. Noah's learning to swim without floaties. Lily just learned to tie her shoes and insisted I record it. Monica's still in therapy, still building her own life. She's present, on time, patient. We're not friends, but we're no longer enemies. We're co-parents. 2. People who wrecked a marriage but refuse to wreck their kids. Sometimes that's the most love you can offer, and that's okay, because healing doesn't mean going back. It means building something new with the rubber land, learning how to love again. Even if the love looks different. Thank you for watching. Welcome to the dark side of love. If this story moved you or reminded you of something you've lived through, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. There's always more to the story than what we see on the surface, and sometimes surviving love's collapse is how we finally learn what it's supposed to be.